Vegas win totals, baby. And we've got to talk about spring camp coming up here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. That's your boy Coop. I am your boy Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway and gift it. So on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, we got a lot of great off-season stuff to dive into, like spring practice, like the actual physical practices are coming up this week. We're going to talk about Vegas and their win totals and just why I agree and disagree. Lastly, we're going to really look at some of the position stuff. Coop has a lot of things on his brain about what could go right and also what could go wrong. So Coop, happy Sunday, man. It's been a bit, but we're back on track, baby. Now the camp is here. It's time for us to really turn the heat up, man. How's it going?
Going good. I have been enjoying the spring break with the staycation. Some soccer mixed in and some football mixed in. You know, always another injury mixed in, which is good. But you had yourself a fun little trip. So how was that?
It was good. Kiddo turned 18. So my youngest is now officially 18. He'll be going to OU in the fall. So he'll be a Sooner born, Sooner bred. He'll be, when he dies, he'll be Sooner dead. So pretty excited about that. He's pretty stoked about it, just trying to figure out how he wants to do things. But he is, we're getting everything prepped and all of that from there. And then, of course, my oldest graduates here in May. She gets her undergrad from LSU, go Tigers. So I'll be between Louisiana and here in May, like crazy. And then I'm moving her out east. So yeah, it's going to be a fun year. But Coop, the best part is that college football has continued to see a massive evolution. Some people like it. Some people hate it. I love it, because it means there's so many more things to talk about. Plus, there are so many more teams that truly have a chance. We just saw with Indiana winning a natty because their coach brought all their players. They showed continuity, and they showed a way to weather the storm of college football. So we get to do that again here. Like, we got our 10-win season in the SEC, so it shut up a lot of people about if Oklahoma could even handle being here. We ain't got to be concerned about that no more. And we're going to jump right in to that because, I think that's probably the best starting point right there. Did you look at all of the win totals or whatnot?
Yeah. I'm excited to look at I'm excited to get into them because, listen, Vegas is in the business of making money, right? Like that's their whole goal. And so whenever they put these things out, like they're not really interested. We were at 7.5 last year, right? We started at 6.5, ended up at 7.5. So I'm gonna need you to take all the proceeds to the podcast and put it on over, because that's what I feel is a very, very fun part about this type of year. There's more content to talk about, but it's funny because you see them buying into the hype of some people yet again, and then you see them disrespecting some folks yet again.
Oh no, you're 100% right on that, and I can make an argument on why Vegas selection made sense and why it also didn't make sense when it comes to that. But yeah, we're going to look at that because we definitely got to look at the competition schedule and all that as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First and foremost, here you go. You have, shout out to my guy Chris Marla over there at LouisianaSports.net. He built some great graphics. I'm actually making my own as well, so that we'll have a lot of this going forward, especially once we really get into covering more of just college football in general. But this is the win totals right now. And as you mentioned, Oklahoma is sitting here at 7.5. And I'm going to be honest. I get it. The devil doesn't need advocates, but I understand where Vegas was going with this for Oklahoma. This is the reason why. I'll start with this, and then, Coop, I want to get your thoughts on it. Let's look at the schedule. Vegas says 7.5, which means they're saying about 7 wins, which means, 5 losses. That, to me, means that they believe that there's a minimum of 4 to 5 toss-up games. And I think I see where they're saying this at. Michigan on the road. Yeah. UGA on the road. So that's your first 4 games of the season. Actually, 5, including Texas and Red River. Your first P4 games, your first 3 P4 games are either on the road or neutral site. And that's within the first 5 games. It's a pretty big deal. Granted, last season, Oklahoma showed that they performed very well on the road. I get where the skepticism comes in. So I say Michigan, since Oklahoma is right now, a 1.5 point dog at Ann Arbor, just because you're on the road. Neutral site means Oklahoma's a favorite. If they're at home, they will be like a 5.5 point favorite. UGA on the road, Texas at Red River, and until we actually score a touchdown in that game, I'm going to say that's going to be a toss-up. Florida on the road, and I honestly think if they believe that it stays at 5 losses, it's between Ole Miss and Texas A&M as a challenge. Mainly because Ole Miss could have Trinidad Chambliss coming back. Texas A&M still has a lot of good players on that roster that won 11 games. But there's a lot of holes in there that we would have to break down. So I get Vegas's mindset, but as mentioned in the chat by my boy Stevie, as well as you, Coop, I'm hammering the over, in which the moment I get into Tennessee this week, I'm hammering that over on the sports books. Period.
You said it right. Which games is OU going to be in conflict? Michigan, you got Whittingham coming up there. Stability has not been the underlying, I guess, virtue in Ann Arbor for quite a long time. So now you bring in a guy who's known for the stability. You go to Georgia, which is tied for the most with 9.5. Not a lot of people win there, right? What is it? They just had their big streak broken last year. Texas, same thing. I'm with you. Now, my caveat with Texas is the only time we've played in the past 3-4 years where we had a healthy team and the quarterback, we won. And that was the year with DG and the game winner to Nick Anderson. So you want to see what does Oklahoma look like, because you go to Georgia, then you got your bye, and you just hope you come back out of that game healthy. But nonetheless, it is your neutral site game. You've now played at Michigan, at Georgia, and in Dallas. I don't think that Mississippi State's going to be the factor in there. South Carolina got some bad news here with their star outside rusher potentially going under the knife. So, yeah, I think it is at the Swamp, Ole Miss at home, which they beat us at home last year, and then A&M. So if you say that, all right, you've got these 5 games of conflict, and then let's not just say that Missouri is just a layup. This schedule is a little bit more easy to navigate than it was last year, especially on the back half. Instead of ending, obviously the LSU decline kind of prevented that from being such a insurmountable end of the season. But this is a little bit easier. So OU fans, you have watched this, you've seen the progress of the team. You got to think that Mateer fully healthy, offensive line older. There's a lot to be excited about. And so, they're going to get a lot of money from OU fans. And you know what? They're going to get a lot of money from OU fans too, hammering probably the under on Texas. So there's a lot there that you have to take in and chew on. But Yeah, it does feel a little disrespectful because you beat Michigan last year, right? You haven't played Georgia yet, but people are probably not too scared of Kentucky. They're going to be in their Will Stein early year, kind of I guess a process. Mississippi State still looking to win a conference game. Is it 0 in the past 2 years or 1 in the past 2 years? Just not very much. South Carolina. Yeah. You went up to their house. You probably put the most dominant game against South Carolina last year. Florida, new regime. Ole Miss, you kind of feel like if the field wasn't different. So there's a lot of buts. But everybody feels pretty much the same around here. Is that you hammer the over?
Yeah, you taking it over. And like I said, that's kind of why I kind of understand where Vegas is thinking with this when I look at it, because we'll look at the other schedules in a second, because I think when you look at the competition as well, what their schedules look, what their schedules look like on top of what their win totals look like, kind of lines up. So like for Oklahoma, went to FanDuel. Most of the juice right now is on the under 7.5 on FanDuel. But when I looked at Caesars and MGM, all of the favorite to cover is the over. They expect 8 wins out of this team, in which the schedule, to me, lines up for a minimum of 8, if not 10 wins. Like, the toss-up games for me, 100% is going to be Georgia and Texas. I think Kyle Whittingham's going to need a year at Michigan to really get that going. UGA still got Gunnar Stockton. Texas brings back, Arch Manning. So when you bring back veterans, signal callers, I usually lean your direction just a little bit. Or I'll usually lean your direction, but I'll also give you. I'll say that you are going to be definitely a formidable opponent. Let's put it that way. Probably the simplest way to say it. I don't think it's going to be a runaway. We got to see if Chambliss is going to be back. Problem for A&M is that line. That line got gutted by players going pro. Florida, new coaching staff. Like you said, South Carolina lost not only 1, but 2 offensive tackles. And now it looks like their edge is on the fritz. I don't even know if Kamario Taylor is going to play for Mississippi State to start the season. We'll see after he got injured at the end of that bowl game, which was just gruesome. Felt so bad for the kid.
Just sad.
He wanted to play football. And that's a situation where some people would say, "That's just stupid that he played in that game." So either you complain that he's playing or you complain that he's not playing. I don't know which one it's going to be. That one's going to be a challenge. Kentucky, new coach. Missouri, they got Austin Simmons now as their starting quarterback because they've announced it. Oklahoma's schedule still is pretty, it's still favorable. It's still favorable to where this win total should be the over. But it's interesting. Now, let's look at some of the opponents. First off, let's look at Georgia. Georgia's interesting because, let me see, I had their schedule here. This is what their schedule looks like. Travel to Arkansas the week before Oklahoma. That may play a little bit of a factor since Oklahoma's playing a cupcake the week before. Vandy at the crib. They got Bama on the road.
I'll pause you right there because it's not just Vandy because obviously Pavia's gone. But it's the fact that you come off OU, you're going to have to put it down because Vandy is just a scrappy team. Clark Lee, he has everybody playing to deal to where he's the enthusiasm and the confidence started with him. Now Pavia, it was more loud through his mouth, but you can't just prepare for Bama the week after Oklahoma. Like you got to focus in with Vanderbilt. And that's the SEC, right? But it is going Arkansas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Alabama, and then Auburn. Like then they get an open, but that's 5 straight teams to where you got to actually be on your game.
Yeah, exactly. And like this isn't, your grandma's Vanderbilt as everybody makes a joke, but this Vanderbilt, this isn't what it used to be. Like everyone was used to Vanderbilt being a Mark W, and you can use that as an opportunity to play some of your other No, Vandy's been getting solid recruits. They've been developing like crazy. And like I said, Clark Lee, one of my favorite coaches in the conference, he has those dudes playing. Then they got Bama on the road. Now, Bama has a new quarterback. We don't know who. It's either going to be, Mac or Keelan Russell. Not sure what that's going to look like yet. Then they host Auburn at the crib. Then they finally get a bye. So they got 5 straight SEC games at the beginning of the season. Whereas for Oklahoma, it's like they got like all of theirs at the end. Like they're on the back end. But Georgia starts the season with all of theirs. That's where the challenge comes in a lot of ways.
And I'm just looking at this. Like, obviously, Alabama, Oklahoma, those are your 2 top echelon teams. But it's not like they get the bottom of the SEC, per se, on the backside of their schedule either. I mean, you've got the cocktail, you've got the neutral site game with Florida, right? At Ole Miss, which I got to think that there's going to be some ebbs and flows in Ole Miss's season this year, Chambliss or not.
Especially with new coach,
Vanderbilt,
right?
Yeah, and with Vanderbilt, I mean, you lost the 5-star quarterback in Jared Curtis to Vanderbilt. He's probably going to be the starter. I'm just venturing to say that he's probably going to be the starter, so he's probably going to try to come out and show that, hey, you should have upped the offer because I'm worth it. But
it's true.
Missouri, South Carolina, and then Georgia Tech is just always a fist fight of a game for them, and just because of the way that they play ball. So you don't see the Mississippi State there. I mean, you got the Arkansas, which, had a struggle, but that was a very, very potent offense, and Pitino has that offense just dialed in. So this schedule, I mean, Georgia has a better schedule, I think, this year than they had last year, as far as like how strong it is.
They really do. It's a lot more favorable. So I understand they're 9.5. It makes sense. Like, I'm looking at this as toss up from them going to 12, so them winning 10 games, so that 2 losses. Oklahoma's going to be a challenge. Alabama's going to be a challenge. I think that's their 2 biggest challenge on their schedule. And what makes this even more favorable for Georgia is they have no back-to-back road games.
Yeah.
Oklahoma doesn't as well. Now the P4 games, they don't play a P4 game at home until after Red River, but there's no back-to-back road games, which is very favorable, which makes you think at the other 9.5 is Texas. This is where things get even more different with them is they rode against Tennessee, bye week, Red River. Then they got 3 straight home games, which of course is very much favorable. But then they have back-to-back roads. They played 3 of their last 4 games on the road at Missouri. Should be old school Big 12, so it should actually be a little bit more of a challenge for Texas than expected. At Lane Kiffin and LSU Tigers, the fighting Lane Kiffins. The guy now they got a left tackle and they got a quarterback. That could be something interesting because Seton is a beast. Care what anybody say, dude is good.
He's very good.
He's very good. He may not be the most refined, but his just natural ability is that good. That's the thing that kind of helps him. And then they traveled to College Station on Black Friday. The Ohio State game in their mix too. Like they start the season off just like Oklahoma, except for Ohio State's at the crib. But 2 of their 3 P4 games are neutral site or on the road to start the year, with Ohio State helping them starting the season off with 3 straight home games. Julian Sayin to be another year older, just like Arch. They got a battle in front of them. But that Tennessee game before us with the bye week, similar to Oklahoma having Georgia and then the bye and then Texas. That's where things are really going to be intriguing. Personally.
And with Texas, which Texas do you get? Do you get the early season Texas last year where receivers dropping balls, your one hopping receivers, the offensive line, was not terrific, but I think that Texas is going to face the same situation Oklahoma is your ceiling is going to be 100% measured by number one, the offensive line, and number two, it's going to be measured a lot by the progress of the quarterback. Arch Manning ended at the end of the year. I didn't buy into Texas A&M, and I think that we saw that their defense was pretty good, against Miami, but their offense just wasn't. It's erratic. We saw the situation against South Carolina to where they're just getting trounced at halftime. So when that game was slated, even though Texas had been struggling, on the road with Mississippi State and Kentucky, I thought they're going to beat A&M. So it is. It's, do you get the back half of the season Arch Manning, and is that offense going to be humming? And then what does the defense look like under Will Muschamp again? You replace the defensive coordinator. You saw some of your defensive backfield, your Malik Muhammad, and the safety. His name just leaves my head at the moment, but Taff, yeah. So you see those two guys; those are gone. Taff was, kind of a heart and soul. He was kind of their Owen Heineke, just a guy that is out there flying around making plays. And so we'll see. If I look at OU and Texas, I look at OU from a standpoint of, can the offense now become more of a complementary unit to the special teams and the defense? And with Texas, it's, you got tons of weapons now. There's no excuses on offense. The offensive line still has to prove it that they're going to be consistent. But they lost a ton of running backs, and I know that they got Hollywood Smothers, and he had himself some good games against some middle teams. Yeah, yep. And so we'll see what happens, because you don't have any excuse on the offense. So what does that defense look like? This is why we talk about it now, because it doesn't really matter until you get on the field. I think Ohio State's got a lot to prove and say, hey, listen, it was 14-7. We controlled the whole game. The only reason why there was any drama was because the last couple minutes last year. And so you come down to Austin and get yourself a win. That puts Ohio State right back in the thick of it with everything. And they're still going to have Jeremiah Smith. They're still going to have Sayin, but they're losing an awful lot to the draft this year too.
Yeah, that's what makes it so interesting. There's a lot of refreshes that, I'm going to have this exact same feeling about Oklahoma probably going into next year with some of the refreshes we're probably going to do, especially on defense. Mm-hmm. It's depending on who we lose. If a huge season happens this year, very good chance, defensive line is going to get gutted.
Yeah.
That is where you get afraid, right? You're going to have that conversation about your own team if things go that particular direction, depending on who gets picked up. So, yeah. But when I looked at the totals, though, I get where Vegas is coming from, while at the same time, in my eyes, truth be told, hammering that over, man. There's no reason why Oklahoma shouldn't hit that. Definitely going to drop the poll. Want to know what y'all think on this. Do you think Oklahoma can hit the over? We'll put that out there right now. And we got to talk a little bit of spring ball. So, Coop, I'm going to pass it to you in a second. Thank you all for, of course, pulling up. Hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. I'm going to drop here in the poll. Can Oklahoma repeat with 10 wins? I'm going to let y'all hit yes and no. Poll begins. But we got spring ball to preview. Workouts have been happening. As y'all know, people are excited about specific players. We're hearing about freshmen, breaking out. We're hearing about the transfer guys. We've heard the transfer guys talk. A lot of them have kind of given their perspective and thoughts of Oklahoma. And, of course, it's good. They like what they're seeing right now. So, can't beat that. Coop, going into spring camp, man, what are you looking at?
Let's start on the defense. What made Oklahoma so good last year was the relentless pursuit by the defensive line. Is you rolled in so many different guys. You had the late season emergence of Taylor Wine. You had R. Mason just as the known entity. PJ out there also. But you had those 4 defensive tackles between Halton, Dominic Williams, Jaden Jackson, and David Stone. So you lose Dom Williams and you lose G Baby, and obviously G Baby is, he's flying up the draft boards right now. So you got to find that backside production, and so I was looking for who steps up. Is it a transfer? Is it a younger guy? And then you lose our Mason. Now you feel good because we still got a Taylor Wine. But now you try to say, okay, well, on the other side, is it going to be PJ stepping up and really taking over? Is it going to be Danny Okoye continuing to progress and take over? But there's 3 names on that defensive line, Jay, that I've been hearing a lot of great stuff about. Number 1, Wyatt Gilmore.
Ooh. BV mentioned
Gilmore
in the presser that he feels like he's the next. He's the next Taylor Wine breakout. And, he came here as a 4-star player. I was hoping he'd get his weight up and be ready. Sounds like we're at that point.
It sounds like he has taken a step, and it sounds like it is a big thing. Wyatt did not play in Texas. He didn't play in Florida. He didn't play in SEC country. He played in Minnesota. And you don't get a lot of like great stories about kids out of Minnesota, but the pedigree that is being built by Miguel Chavis and these outside guys are absolutely just it's phenomenal. Because for the longest time, it didn't matter who the defensive ends coach was. Like, we would have a guy kind of pop up and be something immediately. We always depended on, guys like Eric Stryker and Nick Benito to really be a stand-up outside rush off the edge type of a guy, but not like a true defensive end. We didn't have a lot of big-time sacks. Now you've got Taylor Wine, who is another year in the system. He's got the confidence, but there's going to be film on him. So you got Wyatt Gilmore stepping up. Danny Okoye, a lot of people, he's been showing up. I think he was on it was on Paul Feinbaum. People do not fear what's going to happen on this defensive line because they kind of trust Todd Bates. They trust Miguel Chavis. But right now, your edge side just looks phenomenal from having, like I said, PJ, and he's going to be coming off of a little surgery cleanup. You're going to have Taylor. You're going to have Okoye. Now Gilmore starting to get some good reviews also. Inside, go ahead.
I was going to say, add to that, as mentioned here in the chat, someone to keep your eyes out. Jimmy mentioned this. CJ Nixon, the former Hooper, and Big Edge. The buzz around him is starting to turn up as well, which is what you were hoping for. You got him in-state talent. That's always a big deal. And it appears that he's starting to make another name for himself as well.
And you throw him in as the potential 5th defensive end.
Which is crazy.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If you're saying, hey, how can we? You want to be in a spot to where the coaches are looking at you. You saw it with Davon Jordan last year. You've seen it with Boganowski, with Danny Okoye. Like, how do we get him more snaps? And so you had a number 5 defensive end, and it's just a freakish athlete. Now, I think CJ's probably going to be where Okoye was last year. It's the learning of the game. It's the progressing of, seeing, something on the field, taking the win and putting it in your back pocket and moving on to the next snap. But then also sometimes, you're playing some of the best, offensive linemen in the country, and there's going to need to be coachable moments. Well, the opposite on the offensive line the past couple of years is you couldn't bring guys off to coach them up because we just didn't have the bodies. So having the bodies is a good thing. But
having bodies is always awesome.
Yeah. Moving inside, we know what we're getting out of David Stone, and I think that David is probably going to be even leveled up a little bit more, a little Super Saiyan mode for my DBZ friends out there. But you got Jaden, you got David, those guys, those are well-known entities. But our boy, friend of the program, Nigel Smith, starting to get a lot of rave reviews. And if you don't have any Nigel Smith stock, maybe start buying some Nigel Smith stock, because it is an absolute treat to hear. Nigel was a little bit of a tweener. we talked to him. I think Chavis actually called him during our interview. But 2 years, it was two years, 2 years plus ago. We were talking to him about, do you want to blow up the quarterback on a sack or just plow an offensive lineman? And we asked him, where do you want to play? And, he gave the proper answer with, hey, I just want to, do what's best for the team. Well, he's put on the weight. He's moved inside. He's approaching that G-Baby year 2 weight right now, approaching that 290s. So G-Baby is gone. You're going to need another wrecker inside, and you're going to need some more bodies. Dom was a big anchor. So I love hearing about Nigel, and I love hearing that people are saying buy stock, because it's not just, hey, he's flashing. It's like, this is another guy you need to.
Yeah, it's less of he's flashing and more of a no. There's something there. Like, they think that he's going to be something. Like, he's showing glimmers of he could be the next dude. And that was the one big thing with him was health. He wasn't healthy the last couple of seasons. I think he had something with his ankle, may have had a surgery. I'm not sure. But I know he was dealing with some stuff, and the question was, how healthy will he be going into a year? And it sounds like he is. I'm here for that. We need that.
Yeah, definitely so. And Jeremy Stevens, Shield Knight's a guy that a lot of people are going to forget. So kind of going with Robert's question, what are some guys that you didn't see anything out of? Shield Knight right now might be that number 6 edge guy. And where I think in some of the big BV like Clemson lines is you just had first round guy, first round guy, but then what made it dangerous was the fact that you had a bunch of 4th and 5th round guys like back behind them, so there wasn't the big drop off when you pulled one of those guys off the field. You couldn't run on them to get a switch out and expect it to be better. You just got fresh legs after fresh legs after fresh legs. So. Yeah. Shield Knight's one that, like I said, the coaches had every moment to go, you know what? We're going to back off on him because we're higher on some other guys. No, they stayed with him. They believed in that that eval, and he's starting to show off. But another name that's hearing some stuff on is Trent Wilson. And Trent Wilson out of DC, he's going to be a sophomore this year. You need, that was a big question is he going to progress? Is he going to go and take up that next spot? But Trent Wilson's starting to get a lot.
Freshman, actually. He actually ended up redshirt.
Okay, redshirt. Yes. So you've got that as another thing. You fold in Kenny Ozawalu coming out, at transfer portal. Another big guy who Brent Venables is going to be licking his chops. BV, Chavis, Bates, they're all going to be pretty excited about that because he's a guy that you can play on edge. He's a guy that you can play in the middle. He has a lot of versatility, and now being coached up by Chavis and Bates, being in the Oklahoma strength and conditioning program, like there's a lot there. And so you right now feel pretty good about 5 guys on the inside. And then you still got some more transfers and some more young guys like a Brian Harris, who was, you don't want to, You don't want to depend on freshmen, especially in the SEC. But if a freshman earns a couple of snaps here and there, it's a big time opportunity.
Oh yeah, and Okie Trader, I love this. And what's crazy about this, as you mentioned it,
Yeah,
Jane Jackson was banged up, and he still put up numbers. Like at one point, he was leading the team in sacks. And that's how you knew that the team was progressing in the direction you were hoping for, because he was leading the team in sacks, because everybody was so focused on stopping R. Mason Thomas. They were so focused on slowing down Marvin Jones Jr., the former 5-star. They were looking at all these pieces that were attacking him, and the interior said, oh, we're going to go ahead and jump in this game too. And you got that from, that's how you got Jaden Jackson to go out there. And he actually put up some solid numbers. I think he finished, he had 3 sacks last year. 11 tackles, 3 sacks, a pressure, 7 hurries. And that was after he even missed, I think, a couple of games. Or whatnot. So, but yeah, and it sounds like Jacob Henry's holding his own. He needs to get over 300. He probably has passed it. We'll get probably weights and stuff this week. I've been refreshing the Sooner Sports site to see the weight changes and everything. And of course, we'll be talking about all of that. It's probably gonna be closer to Wednesday. We'll get that. And I know BV will also give us the latest update on injuries and stuff. Like PJ had to have surgery, and maybe get an update on Daniel Akinkumi, who posted the picture of him going under the knife. But that, to me, I really want to know what's up with PJ. But that still opens the door. Like we mentioned before, when we're talking interior guys, you had or exterior guys, with Wyatt Gilmore being one that should break out. Maybe hear something from Shilp Knight. Heck, CJ Nixon may be that dude. We expect Daniel Collier to be the other starter. So it appears that we're putting together the competitive depth that we need.
Jay, should I tease? I want to tease a little something about the unit that would be playing right behind our defensive line, and that's our linebackers. I think that you mentioned if you have a really good this year, you potentially lose a lot of guys on the defensive line. And obviously this defense begins and ends with the defensive line, because if you can create pressure, you allow Cortland Guillory and Eli Bowen to be extremely aggressive. You let the safeties come in and support where they're needed.
Yep.
But BV's a linebacker guy. And as of right now, your linebacker's probably slated to be Kip Lewis, Cole Sullivan. But Jay, what if I said that the Owen Heineke battle is still ongoing?
I mean, Jim Nagy mentioned it, so I guess we should chit-chat about it. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. As we all know, Jim Nagy mentioned that the Owen Heineke, they're going to sue, and they're going to keep that battle going. I am still in the belief that kid ain't coming back. He going pro. But I have shifted my 90 percentile confidence of him bouncing to more of a 65%. And I say that because his weight at the combine or at the pro day made me think that if they can win this case, it would be smarter for him to come back one more year. Because he came in, let me see, pro day weight 6'1", 229. Just about 230. It's not bad, but it's light.
Yes.
He needs to be closer to 240. And it needs to be a sustainable 240, as in he's probably going to need to be 250 going into the season and play at around 235, 240 consistently. He's probably, honestly, if they win this, it will make sense for him to come back.
So here is some factors in this. Roger Denny is an attorney, and I know that we've mentioned this before. He knows a lot about a lot. So I would say that let's watch for stuff around this week, because I think that by the end of this week, we'll probably have something a little bit more public. And you're at 65. I think I'm at 55. I think I'm 55% him going. But I think that if it gets ruled for him to, if we win the case, don't be surprised that we get a big announcement. And why that matters, I absolutely feel that Owen Heineke is probably not a guy that is going to be first or second team on actual NFL team. I think he's going to be a scout guy. I think he's going to get his opportunity on special teams. That's where he made his bones here before this year. I just don't think he's ready. So then you have to go, all right, Owen, this is what you're probably going to make as an undrafted free agent or a 7th-round draft pick or something like that. We can beat that. The NIL is going to beat that here. So just know that it's not done yet. I expect something this week. And Jay, you and I both said for months, guys, don't read into this. It's gone. It's over. But it ain't over till it's over.
Everybody keeps talking about it. That's where I've been at the, man, this kid ain't coming back. He going pro. And Chuck, as you mentioned, the whole point of playing college is to hit the NFL, right? Your opportunity's there. It sounds like there's a favorable grade. Go. But then everyone keeps mentioning, okay, we're going to sue. There's a possibility of this. I'm like, why are we chasing that? That's when I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, when I look at the measurements that he came in on, they must think that, one, he'd make more
to come back
here at OU at NIL. 2, he'll get way more playing time. So those reps will probably be a good thing for him, and he'll be able to put in more weight, which should help him to be able to help his grade, because if anything, to me, I think his grade probably dropped because he's not 250 at 6'1". I think Teddy Lehman played at like 248, and he was about 6'1". So
he was a lot faster.
And he's a lot faster. He needs more weight. I mean, running 4.62. I mean, Shuttle was solid at 4.25, but he needs to run a 4.62. If he could shave that down to like a 4.55 while also adding weight, that could help him. I'm not sold on them winning this case, because the path for me is, I'm still asking the question I've asked this entire time. What is the argument? Is it the lacrosse thing that could have redshirted him there? Cool. Maybe you can do that. Your issue that you could run into is, like, if the only availability is really like a red shirt or a medical red shirt, you can only play so many games. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't see where the path is. Now, they may have a good argument, a much better argument than me. I just haven't seen the path.
Yeah, and I think it's precedent. I think that now with so many people that have won these 5th, 8th, like 10th, I think there was a 10th year player.
Yeah, there is.
So,
well, see, the thing with them is different. All of them have been injuries that have happened within the first 2 games.
And
that's where the challenge comes in.
But you got 15 minutes of lacrosse. So I just say, expect something this week. But why it matters is, obviously we know what Owen Heineke would be here. He would get a lot of preseason accolades. He would get a lot of notoriety. A lot more eyeballs would be on him. He's only got 1 year of film. And as great as special teams players he was, like, the NFL's not doing that. They're going to go get a guy who could potentially be a backup for a backup for a backup. But you bring him back, you give him another year of film, he's going to make more money. Listen, dude's smart as hell, so if he has to go professional in something else than football, or if he wants to go a different route and, maybe work it that way, that may still be on the case if he ends up going this year. But what it does is it gives you that 3-person rotation at linebacker that you feel really, really good about. It also even opens up some opportunity for Cole Sullivan to play some cheetah. And Then you're rotating some guys in, kind of how you saw Samuel Masigo do throughout 2 years ago and then this past year. So I think that's big because the backup to the linebackers, backup to the defensive line, those were the big questions for me on this defense. I feel good about defensive back. I feel great about safety. But we were really thin on those front two lines. And so that gives it an opportunity. And Rob, you're right, Rob. But I will say this is Nagy is the one that's putting together the NIL package and the if this wins. I'm pretty sure Nagy wants to see him back here. He wants the best for Owen, and I think that Nagy knows it could be potentially, getting him a lot of more notoriety and getting him some, like you said, some more weight. So as far as the defensive side of the ball, I'm still super jacked. I think that this defense is going to be great because you've got familiar names that are going to still be making big plays, and then now we're starting to hear some rumblings. Now, I'm not going to say this defensive line is going to be as good as last year, but right now I don't think there's going to be much of a drop off from last year.
Me either. I think that they've prepared for this well. The mentorship from the other guys, I think they prepare for that. Now, as we talk about the linebacker position a little bit more, we need to also weave in, Robert, you had a great question in here earlier that I started, and I feel like is definitely one to really go in is who are going to be the 3 to 4 players that stand out and are pleasant surprises that no one was expecting. I'll grab one from each group. Okay. D-line, I'm going to say it's probably C.J. Nixon. I think Wyatt Gilmore is probably going to be the next Taylor Wine, as BB said. But I think Nixon may come out and show up and be like, oh, now we have to play this guy. We know Kenny Ozawalu is going to be one of those. He's basically been ordained. But I think C.J. Nixon could be. Linebacker, Marcus James. Because I think Nesta is going to be a strong rotational piece. I think that Marcus James is right there with him. And they're both freaking huge guys. My favorite part about how 26 is going to go and how 27 should start, we're going to have 2 linebackers that are over 6'4", or 6'4" or above playing, and it should be starting, or at least rotating. Because Cole Sullivan's 6'3", he's built like Danny Stutzman. Literally, literally same size. They're built about the exact same. It's very similar. It's kind of terrifying, if you want to be honest. Both Nesta and James are about 240-something at 6'4". And I think James kind of teeters close to 6'5". Look. Having huge linebackers is fun. Because it really makes it hard to get the ball across the middle. We have 2 huge dudes that are also sizey, weight-wise, to really, fill up gaps. That's going to be fun. I mean, Kobe was 6'2", Kip 6'1", but you had 2 6'4" dudes right behind there. Oof. I think Marcus James could be the surpriser on that one. At least I hope he is.
I would, and I'm going to go Bishop Thomas on the defensive line. We didn't even mention him earlier, but I think Bishop Thomas has, transfer. He's got a lot of experience. He's been, what was he, at Georgia State? Is that right?
His last stop was Georgia State. He spent time at Colorado, Florida State. He had 4 different places that he spent some time at.
He's been around the block. So you get a guy like that who can be a calming influence on things, but then also we've already seen Brent Venables will rotate dudes in the second series of the game that are 4th string dudes, and so expect maybe him there. I'm with you with Marcus James. I love that guy, and I think that him learning to be more of a heady player was it. It was all athletic instinct. It was kind of like Danny Okoye. It's just, hey man, see ball, get ball. Well, At linebacker, you can't be that way. Like you got to have some decent restraint with you. And so my hope is Marcus James becomes what we saw the Crimson Missile, kind of trajected, in the past. But obviously he got homesick. He leaves. So I think that's where I go right there.
Last season.
Oh yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
So I mean, those are the guys that I'm thinking. When it comes to safety, I'm really excited to see Man. Really, really excited to see Man.
He's gonna be fun.
Robinson.
Yeah,
be a fun player to watch.
BV mentioned he was one that they've been trying to find ways to get on the field.
Yeah.
Hardy leaving opens it up specifically for Man.
Yeah.
One that I'm actually intrigued by too when we go there on the defensive side is, and I think this one's going to end up being a breakout player right behind Powers, is going to be Newcomb. I think Jeremiah Newcomb may even outplay how Davon Jordan played last year. Because if I'm correct, Newcomb was probably going to be the next dude up until he got hurt after the first game. Mm-hmm. And that's when Davon Jordan came in and he started to give you some good stuff. I can see Newcomb being that guy. He's a stout, stocky dude, been fighting his whole life, ready to hit people. And like I said, he only played the Illinois State game. I think he got hurt. He ended up having surgery, didn't play. That's one that, to me, could be another one. For real.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. Jacoby Johnson has had his chances. His biggest thing was, can I turn around and find the ball? And we saw a lot of that out of him. I think that he is the big.
Yeah, he grew on that last season.
He definitely made better opportunities. But when I think about Newcomb, I think of Josiah Wagner. And, Josiah Wagner was a guy who, leading up to the season, we were hearing a lot of buzz that he might actually be the starter going into game one. I think he got a little dinged up and then kind of took it away. But Newcomb is a guy who is super intelligent. He's got a little ball hawk to him. He's a short guy, but so is Eli, and he is going to be a big player when it comes down to that defensive back room. And you're probably going to get him on a lot of slot. And so I think that's where it gets me kind of excited because he can move. So, but yeah, I mean, this defense is going to be an exciting defense to watch. I really can't wait because you get to Michigan, and this defense had them in hell last year.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, they did not want to press anything with that young quarterback in Norman. So now he's still shown that he's very, very susceptible to the interception. He's still shown that he's very, very indecisive. And so, I mean, it's new coach, new coaching staff. How does this, what's my progress look versus that game in Norman last year? And I think this defense is probably going to be very, very, very game to go up to Michigan.
That's going to be the fun one. We get up to Michigan, we're really going to learn about what the rotation is going to look like. Now, we already know that Boganowski and Bowen are going to be fun. I ain't tripping on those two. Heck, Bowen may actually get more picks. Cheetah, 100% Reggie Power spot.
Yeah.
You may see a mix of, like I said, Newcomb or Taylor Heim mixed in there just to give you some extra height. You may, I don't know if Nesta could even run something like that. Jacob Curry, heard he's fast enough. He could be.
Very much.
But that middle part is going to be good. And, of course, your outside is fine. Jacoby Johnson with Cortland Guillory, Eli Bowen, Tristan Haynes. That's probably your four corners right there. Hearing great things about Dakota Fields and his mentality and the how serious he's taking things. That's another one that should be good. So, defense-wise, again, no true concerns. Let's jump in. Probably should go ahead and talk about, of course, the offense. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. Gonna drop a poll. How many defensive players do you think will have a breakout breakout season? We're going to put that in the poll. Y'all let me know what y'all think there in the comment section. Coop, offense. Where you want to start?
Hey, it's got to start on the offensive line. We heard some stuff about Amarian Harris being the right tackle. I think that your guard rotation is still not up for grabs because nobody is good enough, but I think that you have a solid set of players who can give you great time. And I'm very happy, very, very happy, Jay, to see depth on the offensive line. We talked to one of the parents last year, and it was hard for guys to get healthy because there weren't enough guys to take snaps. So as you're battling something, you couldn't afford to because you didn't want to lose your spot in the very, very short pecking order. But then you couldn't afford to because you didn't want to like show the coaches that like you were not mentally tough enough to do this. And so I think that it all starts with how does Foje and Fasusi progress? Those guys are 5 stars for a reason.
That is the question.
And I can't remember. I was listening to somebody while I was doing some work outside the other day, and they brought up the fact that like there's a lot of people. Bill Bedenbaugh has been the most polarizing coach on this coaching staff, for quite a long time now. And that's a tough thing, just kind of like the offense. When you saw that 2017 offensive line, that Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, you saw those guys, those first-rounders come through here. You got to the point where you're like, it's always going to be this way. Well, we've seen some pretty offensive lines for the past couple of years. And a lot of people want to say, all right, listen, Bill, this is your year. Like, you need this. This offensive line was not good last year. It was serviceable, and I think that we saw that in the Alabama game. We saw that in the Ole Miss game. We've seen it in a couple different, the Auburn game was a big one. So it starts with Fasusi and Foje. Sorry, guys. You get the 5 stars, you get the NIL, you get the expectations. It's taken a step up to where this offensive line's basement is being good. Because if you're just good, we can do a lot. If you're a pretty good offensive line or a very good offensive line, this team has everything out in front of them. Everything. If you're a great offensive line, we know what we're talking about at that point.
And it was actually mentioned here in the comments about McCullough really getting something out of the running back room, and that's 100% going to be based upon what this O-line looks like. A few of you have asked a question in the comments. I mentioned it before. UK Dan, a.k.a. Daniel Akinkumi, posted a picture of him in a hospital. So obviously that means he's had some sort of a surgery or something, or he's going off under a knife or something. That's something we've got to we'll be monitoring. We'll wait and see what BV says this week. It's probably going to be Tuesday or Wednesday night. BV will talk or whatnot, and so we'll find out what the heck's going on there and really be able to dive into it. But besides that, like I said, Amarian Harris at your right. That means Foje can get himself going, get himself at the right weight and speed. He can play interior and exterior. Fasusi needs to get himself right. Same thing with Ozaida as well as EPL. And then the questions at center, does Nida take the job away from McCullough, or McCullough hang on to it? Which McCullough was solid when he was healthy. Just got to keep that going. So now I'm curious to see how that goes.
You're right. The offensive line, having a set of guys who've been healthy, but then again, having the depth to take a breather, it's going to be big. So, I mean, if you had to ask me as of right now, you're starting Fasusi. I'm still going to go with Ozaida. I think at that point you have McCullough, Foje, and then Harris. I think that there's a good rotation of Ozida and EPL. A lot of the younger guys have been talking about how EPL has been the one that's been helping them progress with their mentality and everything like that. I think Ozida just being healthy again is a big deal. That's going to be a battle. I would love to see it just be EPL because I feel like that we did better in running the ball when EPL was in there. He was like the only one that was actually like creating push. And so then you talk about the backups, and that's where you have Caleb Nitta. That's that's where you hope that UK Dan can get back in there and to get himself into the snaps. But we got to see this offensive line actually play well because of you've got to be able to rely. It's hard enough to play football when you got to read a defense. Everything is disguised and you don't know what's coming at you. You can go off of film, you can go off of feel, you can go off of indicators, but nobody ever is predicting the right guard just to let somebody come running through, or the right tackle just to get blown onto his ass and your running back be in the wrong spot for pass pro. Like, you can't predict those things, and it's hard to trust a play design and keep your eyes downfield to see open wide receivers if you know that somebody's about to be up in your grill pretty quickly. Now, this team was better at pass pro than they were at run. We talked about the usage. We talked about the production of John Mateer. You need the offensive line to come out with an attitude, and that's the number one thing I want to see in spring. Does not matter. I don't give a crap who's out there. Jay, I don't care if it's me and you out there playing right and left tackle. I want to see an attitude of putting dudes on their butt, and I don't care if it's this defensive line. Like, because if you can have some success against this defensive line running, you can do it against anybody.
Yep.
But having the attitude that it doesn't matter, we're giving you 125%, and you're going to have to match us. I want to see that mentality out of this offensive line.
That's the one thing I'm hoping that we get out of them as well. I'll go out there, push your current defensive line around some, and make sure this defensive line is helping them refine themselves to go up against some of the best. I mean, we had arguably the best one in the country, at least in the SEC at minimum. And it was proven. We were stopping the run like crazy. Your top runners weren't getting those running yards on us like they was everybody else. I mean, Justin Hayes, I think, was the only running back that actually had 100 yards total in a game, and that was because he had a 75-yard touchdown to start the game because our true freshman missed his spot. That happens. That was the second game of his career. He was in the wrong spot. He made up for the rest of the season, though, didn't he? But nobody else was out there doing that. That to me tells you how tough that line was. Ahmad Hardy, the nation's top rusher. Nah. Even with Prebula out there still being able to scramble around. Nah. We didn't allow it. So that's going to be on McCullough and Beatonbow together, which the good thing is that Kevin Wilson and McCullough are very close because that was the first job that McCullough got was with Kevin Wilson. They know how to work together. And they'll be able to figure out how to get these backs going. And again, we got 4 backs. So if I'm looking at this, first off, I think Nitta may actually get a lot more snaps than y'all expect. And I think he actually may be pretty effective on the offensive line in that interior, which is always a plus. Standouts, though, man. Des Walker is going to shock everybody. He's already the talk of the town. He's very good in pass pro. And that's usually what gets you on the football field. That's what's important. But wide receiver is where everybody cares the most, Coop. We care more about wide receiver than anything. And I'm going to give you a bold one on this one. I think Jermichael Carter is going to end up being one of your top wide receivers this season. John Mateer may actually put up a lot more numbers than y'all expect. Like a lot. I think he's going to put up more numbers than he did at Washington State in his best year. Because I think from Trell to Satania to Jermichael to Parker, Livingstone, and then everybody else that could come up in ET, Elijah Thomas could show out. Manny Choice could show out. Jaden Petit could show out. I really think that Mateer's numbers are going to fly because these wide receivers are going to do a great job of getting open in space this year. And I ain't even talking about tight ends yet. But that's what I think about wide receiver. Jermichael Carter is the breakout player for me this season at wide receiver, especially on offense, period. Jermichael Carter is going to be the one. After what he did against Alabama, the 2 times he got in the field against them, I think he's ready. He understands the flow, and he blocks.
And here's where I kind of go with this is we know who Satania is. People are going to, early in the season, Satania is going to be the focal point of everything. And we saw it against Alabama. We saw it against LSU. When he became the focus, it was, all right, how do we get somebody else included into the game? And I think that you need that possession-type wide receiver, a big body person that you can see running around out in space. And that's why I like Jermichael Carter. I think that Trell Harris, we're already hearing those things about him. He is who he is. He came here because of Mateer. But I think that him and Satania are going to get a lot of the cover shifts, towards them in their areas. But I think that I'm with you. I would also say that like another big body person, if you have, because this just is what it is, but if Carter and let's go with a Jaden Pettit or let's go with a Manny Choice, if those guys are playing the same position and about the same production, they're all blocking, if they're all route running well, watch for the young guys too. But I'll go with Jermichael Carter. And then let's go inside, because I think that you kind of have to go hand in hand with this is the tight ends are going to have a lot to say with the blocking, but they're also going to have a lot to say with the route running. And having 2 tight ends on the field who can do both is something this offense has not had here recently. I mean, maybe since 2018-ish, when it was Calc, before the concussions. That's where I'm, that you get that opportunity to be a threat on the blocking side. And if you're, and Jay, everybody says a tight end is quarterback's best friend. And then they say a running game is is a quarterback's best friend. Yep. Both of them involve functional tight ends. And so if you can have that opportunity to have some enforcement on the running game and then also have the weapons spread out, I don't think that you can really dial down on anywhere specific. And if Arbuckle is worth the job that he's being paid to do, then he's going to find a way to get guys open. And if you can rely on that offensive line, rely on that run game, Mateer gets to sit back there with an improved offensive line who was decent at pass protecting last year and choose where he wants to go.
Yeah. And he's going to have options. Now, the best part about options is that's in the tight end room. Jason Witten.
Yeah.
And the fact that Rocky Beers should be your catcher. Hayden Henson walked in and said that I'm going to make this run game better just because, good blocking tight ends make everything, make that better. Yeah. That right there is what we've all hoped and dreamed for, is to have freaking blocking. I'm sorry, Boomer Sooner 129. He will throw double-digit interceptions for a second season in a row, most likely. I'll take that. If we say 10, I'll take the over and say about 11. But I don't think he's going to be reckless. It'll probably be in the heat of a blowout, and we're just kind of toying around with things. But I don't think he's going to be as reckless as he was last year. Well, the LSU game was probably the game he's the most reckless in. But yeah.
I would just say this with the interceptions. Turn the ball over. You got to think about it this way. He had how many this past year?
He had 10, 11? Let me look.
And how many just dead dropped interceptions do you think he got away with? So I think that he will probably
11.
end up with the same numbers. Okay, so he'll probably end up with the same numbers, but I think that they're not going to come. I mean, like he had a bowl. I mean, how was it 5 the last 2 games?
Yeah, he had 5.
He
over
had
the
three
last 2
three
games.
against
I
3 against
think he'll
LSU.
double his touchdowns too, which is good.
Yeah, and that's okay because if it says 35 and 11 at the end of the season, I think we're all going to be pretty excited about it because he's going to also throw some running ones in there too. So I do think that we're going to have more offense. I think that the offense is going to be again, incomplete pass and 2 0-yard runs gets him off the field pretty quickly. So I think the offense will be on the field a lot more. So I think that with the increased snaps on offense, and then you probably
That's what it is. The
smarter
increased snaps
choices.
is probably a great way. Yeah.
The smarter choices will cut down some of that did end up as interceptions, but then somebody's going to catch a couple of those. And you can't say, I mean, outside of that LSU game, you can't really say that like there were a bunch of tipped balls or anything like that. There were a couple of balls that bounced up off a dude's hands and got picked off this past year. It just is what it is. But the offense will have more snaps. They will be more effective.
I don't think he'll have 3 interception games like he did last year. He had 2 of them, one against Texas, one against LSU. He had 5 interceptions over the last, 7 games. 5 over the last 7, which isn't bad. Just under 1 a game. Like I said, I expect him to throw 1 on average a game. So I expect probably 12 for regular season, that is. But as long as, when he was healthy, he had 3. He threw 1, Illinois State 1, to Temple 1, Michigan 1. It was the tip pass against Michigan that almost got picked that we ended up tackling a guy. Those are going to happen. But I think it's also going to be because, like you said, not only will we run the ball well, we'll also have a lot more offensive possessions. But I think we'll also have more receivers that's going to fight for balls.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like the back shoulder passes that one against LSU that got picked, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, where he threw it was, but the wide receiver should have fought for that.
Well, and then
I think that was the design of it.
Jaron Kanik had he threw it behind him and it kind of bounced, and that was the Illinois State game, the first of the year, and maybe
I'm more so talking about
like
that pass. I think it was Giovanni Gibson is the side he threw it to, but he didn't fight for the pass, and it was like went right to the DB's hands. It was like, you're supposed to fight for that. That was kind of the here, I'm gonna throw this up there, you go get it.
Yeah,
we didn't get that.
So there's a lot, and there's a lot of options for this team to get better. And again, we start practice in just a few days, and we'll start hearing people's names mentioned to motivate them, but then also to motivate people around them. And so I would venture to say, have smiles on your face when you hear a guy. Don't worry about if you don't hear a guy's name. Like, I don't think we're going to hear a lot about David Stone outside of probably early in the season or leadership. Jaden Jackson.
I don't know if you're going to hear much about any of your starters for the most part. I just don't see a reason to, but again, we're at that point. All right, game is about to start, so this is actually the perfect spot to end things. Actually, the game's already started, so make sure you go check out the women. Thank y'all for all pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. We'll be back. We'll probably just go once a week for now as we prepare through spring camp. Me and Coop may just drop some random videos together talking about the latest updates or whatnot. So I'll probably pull him away from the work and we'll do like a 10-minute conversation around something. So like, subscribe, get us back to 21. We lost about 7 subs. I think YouTube has been doing a purge of people, especially those that have been getting their accounts blocked and deleted. So need to get back to 21. So help your people out. We need to get about 7 more subs. And we will see you all in the next few days. Be good. Peace.